most arm wrestlers, including myself, revolve our workouts around practice day. Most arm wrestlers practice once a week, and they base their workout routine on that. I'm conflicted on that because when people ask me how to get strong, I say, do everything Todd Hutchings does. Okay? Go watch all of his videos. Now, I worked out with Todd for a couple of years, and I know exactly what his routine is. We've chatted about it many times. I think it's a brilliant routine. The one thing Todd does is, to him, a practice is not a workout. You do not build around the practice. He sets his workout.
This is what I was going to bring up with you when you said that.
Right.
Yeah.
He builds his workout, and then he'll practice once, twice, 3 times a week around those workouts.
Around his workouts. The workouts are the high intensity thing for him. The practice is like the supplemental, social, like maybe motor skills stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And so here's one thing I'll say, because I'm not going to say whether that's right or wrong. What I always tell everybody is you can't track. It's very difficult to track if your workouts are working from a practice, because you don't know how the other guy feels. But you can't
control the variables.
You can't control the variables, but in the gym you can control everything. So, however someone works out, and this goes back to Todd because they do, keep track of all your numbers and all your lifts. And as long as your numbers are going up, then arm wrestle 5 times a week. They're probably not going to go up if you're arm wrestling 5 times a week. But my point is Todd's numbers, because he keeps such detailed track of them, they go up every week. Even his volume days, not just his max effort days. And so the practice is, for him, practice is not intended to get stronger. Practice is intended to work on your technique. Which John, on the other hand, was the other way around. He never lifted weights. His practices were intended to get stronger. And you can tell by the way they both arm wrestle at practice. And John would just arm wrestle. That's all John would do.
This is such, I mean, obviously it's a subject of a lot of contention because it's such a complex subject. Like you said, part of it is where you are in your strength range, right?
Right.
How conditioned you are.
Right.
The other part is like how strong is everyone else you're training with.
Right.
Then there's, if you look up, most arm wrestlers don't talk about this, but there's periodization as well, and recovery.
Yes.
And then there's different components to recovery too. There's like muscular recovery, tendon recovery, CNS recovery. And
all of it.
Then there's how sport specific is your training, right? So you can get super strong at something and you're like, oh, I'm just going to blast everyone.
Right.
And then you realize it doesn't matter because you can't actually get there, or you can't actually connect that to, there's something in your chain of muscles that is a weaker spot, so you can't even use it.
Right.
But
all that can be simplified.
Yeah.
All that can be, everything you just said is true. And as a component to what works for you versus someone else in getting stronger. But I'll give the same advice or knowledge to everyone. I don't keep track of all your workouts in the gym. Keep track, specifically keep track of the workouts, of the exercises that you think most transfer to the table. Okay, whichever one you do that they are.
Yeah, it depends on your style and everything.
If your numbers are going up, you don't care about recovery. You don't care about CNS. You don't care about tendons versus muscles. Because if your numbers keep going up, then it's working.
Yeah.
It's working. You know, for me, I have I have a straight back pressure number. I have a wrist around the thumb, straight back, ooh, nice and easy, straight back pressure number.
Yep.
I have a straight side pressure number. I have a pronation side pressure number. And I keep track of all these numbers. As long as my numbers are going up. And I don't just keep track of the single rep max numbers. I keep track of my volume days and my isometric days. And am I holding this for 20, if you can do like with one isometric days where you hook a chain to it, I want to hold, on some days, I want to hold for 20 seconds. Other days, I want to hold for 40 seconds. And once I get all 4 sets of whatever weight I'm at for 40 seconds on my 42nd day, at the end of that workout, when I've gotten all 4 sets at 40 seconds, I'll go, okay, was that really crazy hard at the end or was it a little easier? And if it was a little easier, then the next week I add weight. So as long as your numbers are your time, because most people count reps, when we should really start counting time. I don't care how you work out, and you don't have to worry about all that other stuff.
So you don't have to sell me on recording everything because I'm like
You're
super meticulous. I just want to do it naturally. That's just my
Right.
nature. I know how to use my records when it comes to when I'm progressing. They help me when I'm progressing.
Right.
But what do I do when I see that I'm not progressing?
Perfect. So what's generally one of 2 things. You either need an additional rest, or, which most people are like, well, that doesn't make sense, you need more volume.
No, that does make sense.
Because your base, like, to most people, it doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. I am already figuring out you're a very analytical, logical thinker, which is how I am, which is good. It's going to make this go a lot better.
I want to work with you because we think similarly.
It's going to go it's going to go good. My biggest problem is my memory is terrible, and I forget things. I've forgotten more than most people know, which is true. You know that baseline that we're talking about? When you were just telling me about Devin Lorette, he's done all this stuff. He doesn't train side pressure because he used to hook all the time. Volume, in my opinion, raises baseline.
Yes, it raises your work capacity.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so
if you're training for a big squat, people will tell you to do. I feel like I've learned a lot by listening to powerlifters.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. How they get strong has been a known entity forever. That's why Todd went to Westside Barbell.
Yeah.
Knowing how to get strong is not the hard part. People just have a difficulty applying it to arm wrestling. Because in powerlifting, bench, deadlift, squat. They've got
complicated.
3 basic movements. It's not complicated. Arm wrestling, by comparison to that, from a technical standpoint, is wildly more complicated. And so, but you might need to add more volume if your peak numbers are flatlining. Add more volume, or just whatever again, you've got like 10 different exercises. If you've peaked on all these different change your exercises. Okay.
Yeah.
That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. If you feel, one of the things you can do, if you feel you have peaked on all 3 of those exercises, straight side pressure and those 2 forms of pronation, then come up with new ones.
Basically a variation.
A little variation.
On the same pressure.
So all of a sudden this is different than the other ones that I did for pronation. Don't grab this, grab a handle.
Yeah.
So start with all new ones. The easiest and quickest way to rule out that you need more rest, because a lot of times you just need more rest, especially at 44 or 60. And take an extra rest day. Okay, my max effort day is Wednesday, and normally on Tuesday I do whatever I'm doing. Rest that Tuesday. You're only missing 1 workout.
Yeah.
And see if on your max day, after you've missed a couple weeks in a row, if all of a sudden it jumps up.
Do you ever just deload? Instead of like
I'll
just
do
taking a straight rest, you just like cut the volume and the weight, so you're still
You
Getting
can,
something.
yes, it just takes a little, you can if your max day is on Wednesday, then deload starting Thursday through Tuesday, do a max effort. If you went up, the answer to your problem is rest.
Yeah.
But you have not dialed in what type of rest. Should you just have stopped on Tuesday? Or should you have deloaded the rest of the week?
Yeah.